Last time on This Is the Day, we spoke with Pastor Sean Smith, where he told us about his abusive childhood, the loss of his mother, and his newfound family in a gang. On this episode, we will talk to him about the death of his old life through Christ and his actual death in a hospital. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Hello, I'm Angela G. Barnes, and you're watching This Is the Day TV Ministries, where I'll be sharing inspirational, life-changing, faith-based stories of God's miracles still happening in our everyday lives. So come, join me right here as we journey together by faith and not by sight. Okay, so Pastor Sean, we left off with you talking to us about being initiated into the gang. I want you to, you can go ahead and pick up from that point and then tell us, what that was like, some things that you feel comfortable talking about.
Okay. So the lifestyle was, more family oriented than what most people believe. A lot of people think gangs are just, a bunch of violence, a bunch of drugs, and, a bunch of that, but there's a lot of community involvement. I'm not praising gangs by any means, but there's a lot of community involvement and a lot of family-driven lifestyle. I was a kid that didn't have family, so they became family. That was like my dad and my brothers and my sisters, But in that lifestyle, I was in over 300 fights by 11th grade, so that was, fighting was a part of life. Fighting was a part of your everyday thing. I had a pager. You get a page at a certain number from a certain thing, to meet up in a certain area. Different codes, meant different things. Like shooting was this, fight is this is this, So the gang lifestyle was basically community, family, violence.
And so what was, I don't think you referenced, if you feel comfortable, the name of this gang, and what was your position in it?
I was the second in command of the third largest gang in Columbus, Ohio.
What?
Yeah.
You rose to the top that fast?
Right under the top.
Okay.
But I spent, 10 years of my life invested in all of this stuff. 10 years of fighting, 10 years of shootouts, 10 years of arson, 10 years of, anything you can think of. That's what we did. Especially if it was something that happened to one of ours.
Okay.
We wasn't really as known for being the ones who started the problem.
Okay.
We were the ones who would stop the problem. So
it ended with you all.
It ended with us.
Gotcha.
It didn't start
I know what that means. I know what that means.
It didn't start with us.
Okay.
It ended with us.
Okay. So during the break, you were telling me about how you got your name, some of your names through this gang. So talk to me a little bit about that.
I had a couple names. I have one here. That was about 6.5 years I went by this name. Okay. And then for 3 years, I can take this off.
Okay.
I think you said to twist my arm this way. Nickname was Bronco, Bronco. And I got this name, there was a fight that took place, and some guys pulled up to jump a friend of mine. Well, the guys who I was connected to, a lot of them was there, but they didn't do anything.
Okay.
Because it started as a one-on-one fight between this one guy and somebody else. Then they started the jumping. And what I did is I got in one of their cars, because when they pulled up, jump out boys is what they call them. They jump out of the car's still running, they do whatever they do, and they jump back in the car and they would leave. Well, one of them jumped out of their car, left their car running. When they started to jump him, I got in their driver's seat and ran over 7 guys.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You did what?
I jumped in his car.
Oh, I heard you. I'm just trying to understand. You ran over?
Ran over 7 guys.
Literally ran over 7?
Literally ran them over.
Were there any fatalities or?
I don't know. I mean, nobody stays there to find out.
Oh my Lord.
So yeah, we ran over 7 guys. Fight stopped kind of abruptly, like what in the world just happened? And They gave me the name Bronco because they called me Crazy Horse, but Crazy Horse sounded a little weird. So it's like, we want one name. Each letter had to do something to get the letters, but I could not do the C in the name because they wanted to eliminate my best friend.
And when you say eliminate?
Kill him. Because he did something he wasn't supposed to do. And because he did that, his name got on a list. And in order for me to get that last letter, I would have had to do that, and I couldn't do it. I've known the guy since like second, third grade, so.
And there were no repercussions of you not following through with orders?
No.
But you're second in command now, so
that order didn't come from the head.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was more of, get your stripes, get your letters. But that didn't come from the head. No.
So you didn't touch him at all? No one touched him?
Somebody touched him. It just wasn't me.
Okay.
I couldn't do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as now you're in the gang and you have a lifestyle, what are some of the other things that you've done? I believe you stated that you actually did something with the church. Tell me what capacity.
So, because we grew up in church and my mom and dad raised me technically in the church, I loved to play the drums.
Okay.
I was good at it. I'm still pretty decent at it still. So in 2002 to 2004, I was playing at a certain church. And I liked playing at this church because, I liked the music. I got paid $300 a week. That was pretty good money, for a drummer. But I was getting paid $300 a week for more than just playing drums. I got paid $120 to play the drums, and the rest was from selling weed to the deacons of the church who wrote the check to me in the first place.
You said selling weed to the deacons?
To the deacons of the church who wrote the check. And that happened for almost 2 years. So that was, it was decent money. It was quick couple dollars,
Deacons?
The deacons. So the pastor would go out and preach. We would take the drums in the church van. We would smoke a blunt on the way. We would, be high. By the time we got to church, we was high as a kite. I'm laughing now because it's funny to me, but it really isn't funny at all. But that was the life. That was my life, and I lived that every week, no matter what.
So now that you've done all of this, there was a pivotal moment that happened in your life. Tell us about that. And I believe that's where you met Christ. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my brother's ex-girlfriend, I call her my sister. My brother asked her to kind of keep an eye on me when he went to college. She came to the church I was playing the drums at.
Those drums again.
On a Tuesday night, she came to a rehearsal. We was having rehearsal. And she texted me and was like, hey, you should come to church with me. And I was like, well, I got rehearsal. So she pulled up to the church. And she said, you should come with me to church tonight. And I said, well, I got rehearsal. And she said, I just want to tell you, you're going to go to hell from the stage of the church because the stuff you're doing, you're going to go to hell from up there. And I said, well, if I'm going, all of them are going. I ain't going by myself.
You're a clientele.
I'm a clientele. We're going to take a charter bus. We all going.
God.
And, I pointed out different things different people was doing because I know what people are doing. And she said, but why do you care if they go more than if you go? Just come with me tonight. So I left. I left my car at the church, got in the car with her. We drove to the south side, and I went to her church. The pastor was up preaching, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you during a service where they do an altar appeal and your legs decide they want to stand up, but you don't want to, And that's what happened. My legs started to make me move, and he did the altar appeal. And next thing I know, I stood up, and I gave my life to Christ.
That night?
That night.
And did you say anything? Did you just go up there and just say, I gave my life?
I didn't go up there. I just stood up, and 5 elders from the church came over to me, prayed for me. I was under the third pew on the side of the church, looking up at gum, speaking in tongues, whole 9 yards, that night. Filled with the Holy Ghost that night.
Come on now.
And all of this stuff happened. I ended up getting back in the car with my sister. She's taking me to my car, which is on the north. So we go from the south side to the north side. When I get to my car, I remember it's Tuesday.
Right.
On Tuesdays, we have what's called set meetings within the organization.
Of the gangs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in those set meetings, we discuss community. We discuss, drugs, families, all of this. We discuss everything. And in this particular meeting, I was a little nervous because I said a prayer in between the church and the meeting.
What was that prayer?
The prayer was, God, if you real and all that stuff I just went through is real, get me out of this.
Come on.
And if you get me out of this, you got me 100%. So I get to the meeting, and my OG's standing there looking at me, and he looks at me like the entire meeting. Like I'm standing next to him, but he's looking at me the whole meeting. And one thing I know is if you have his attention for too long, something's going to happen.
Right.
Like he only gave his attention to individual people who did something wrong.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So my mind is thinking, okay, what did I do? Did I miss a count? Did I miss a drop off? What did I do? And at the end of the meeting, he says to me, I don't know what it is about you, but something's different and you don't belong here.
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at him, I just got chills again. He said, you don't belong here. And I'm looking at him, and in my mind I'm thinking, oh, you're about to kill me. Like something's wrong.
Because you don't just walk away from a gang.
No. So he puts a word out. He says, anybody touch him, I touch your family.
Oh.
Meaning,
I know.
It's not going to be the one who initially touched me that he's gunning for. He's gunning for your mother, your brother, your kids, your grandkids, your aunts, your uncles, everybody around you.
Basically putting a shield over you. You already got a shield through the blood of Jesus, but now he's putting an extra shield.
Yep. So for a year and a half, almost 2 years or so, I was a ghost in my own city.
Pastor Sean, that is amazing. The fact that you were able to walk away from this, protected, double shielded.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, you gave your life to Christ, and there's so much more we want to talk about after you gave your life to Christ, because I believe later on you died.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, Pastor Sean is going to talk to us a little bit more about what he's doing and then what happened on that hospital bed. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, I am so excited to share with you today a powerful and much needed book written by an amazing author, my friend, Dr. Veronica Seitz. Her book, Love Me to Life, Suicide Recovery at Church. Now, this book is designed to equip the body of Christ to help those who've been impacted by suicide. She does use a holistic approach. She uses voices of advocacy. She even has evidence-based research and perspectives from those who serve in the ministry. Now, in this book, Dr. Veronica calls all of us to action, to take an active role in helping those to restore their lives who've been affected by suicide. Now, this book, when I tell you it is loaded, she lays the foundation for you. She identifies suicidal trends, there's biblical guidance. She addresses suicide as it relates to fear and failure. She even has personal testimonies of those who have triumphed over tragedy. When I tell you this is a must-have, you cannot afford not to have this book in your homes, in your churches. So head on over to Amazon.com and learn more about this amazing book. Now, we all know suicide is real, so let's get involved with Dr. Veronica and all be a part of suicide prevention. Now, Dr. Veronica is not only just an author, she's a crisis and grievance counselor on a national and a local level. She's a chaplain, she's a speaker, a trainer, she's a coach. She wears so many hats. If you would like to get connected and learn more about Dr. Veronica Seitz, visit her at conflictresolutionspeaker.com. Again, that's conflictresolutionspeaker.com. You'll be so glad you did.
Love Me to Life, Suicide Recovery at Church. Why should you read it, and why should your church use it to equip the saints? Because far too often, as the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroys, he succeeds because of lies believed. This book helps with resources, voices of advocacy, and calls people to action, to speak out of darkness and be the light that the world needs for hope and help.
So, Pastor Sean, we left off with you giving your life to Christ. You're now excommunicated. You have a spiritual shield and a natural shield. Yeah. So tell me, what are you doing now? What are you doing in the church now?
Now I have something called Roar Ministries, which stands for Rise of a Remnant. I pastored for a few years, and then in that transition from pastoring to what I'm doing now, God gave me a blueprint of an organization that is teaching and discipling and training people on the heart of worship and what prophecy is compared to what prophecy is not. Because one thing that we notice, and I know you've seen it before, in any church, you'll see somebody trying to give someone a word and they're way off.
Way off.
And what I've been able to do is to be able to teach people to understand what the sound and the voice of God really is and what the heart of worship looks like. So Roar Ministries is a fellowship of churches. I cover 12 different pastors with, I want to say like 16 churches altogether. And I do a lot of traveling, going around, ministering, and do a whole lot of outreach in communities, and have a mentorship group doing the same thing that we do with Roar Ministries, and just loving on the people. I just love this.
Wow. And so now that you're living for Christ, have you been in contact with your old crew? Have you been able to go back and minister to them?
So I mentor a lot of their kids. A lot of the guys, even the guys who, we used to shoot at each other and all that stuff. Like, I mentor their kids. Oh, wow. Rival gangs, they'll talk to me and they'll send their kids to me because they know I got out of that lifestyle and they know I'm legitimately out of it. A lot of people who turned their back on it did not really do that. They just turned their back enough so they don't be seen by a police officer. Whereas I actually was excommunicated and sent out. So now I can talk to a lot of people. I've held workshops talking to gang members, talking to drug dealers. I've done unification of the police and drug dealers in different cities.
Oh, wow.
Where I bring people to the same table, like, let's talk. Like, you guys want to get drugs off the street, well, let them talk to you about why it's on the street in the first place and where they got it from.
Mediator.
Let's create this conversation, between the community leaders and the gang leaders, between the church and the drug lords. Let's create conversation. So I do a lot of that as well. And that's one of the things I really love, is being able to bring people to the table who normally wouldn't be able to do that anyway.
Okay. So I want to also touch bases now that you are pastoring, and you say you have gone back and you've spoken with some of your old crew. Tell me about the favor that was asked of you from one of the guys in your old set.
So I remember being asked to do a wedding, like to officiate a wedding.
Okay.
He called me and said, "Man, are you like a pastor? You like a real preacher? You could do weddings and stuff." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, can you do this person's wedding?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I heard the Lord tell me, "Don't do it. Don't do that wedding." So I called him back. I said, "Man, I can't do it." He said, "Why?" I said, "Honestly, I heard God say I can't do it. So I'm not going to do it." Well, he called me, the guy who asked me to do it, he called me and he said, "Man, I'm glad you didn't do the wedding." Because two guys walked up in between the aisles, because the wedding was outside.
Okay.
Two guys walked up and shot him over 30 times.
Who is him? Is this someone that
One of the guys who I was in the gang with. He was
30 times.
Executed at his own wedding while holding his wife's hands, getting ready to say "I do." And the guy who asked me to do it, he said to me, he said, if they would have saw you there, all they simply would have did was just raise their pistol and boom.
Oh my God.
And you would have just been, you finally got him.
Talk about hearing, listening, and obeying the voice of God. A lot of us, we hear it and we don't obey.
Right.
And you listened, went against, this is your buddy, this is one of your crew members, what's the harm in officiating a wedding? But God told you, don't go. Now, where was your buddy, the one that
he was sitting on top of a roof. So the place where the wedding was at, they had like a balcony / rooftop type of deal, and he was sitting up there.
Away from it.
Away from the whole thing.
And this friend of yours you've been connected with.
Yeah. Still connected to him. I can call him right now.
Wow. And since you've given your life to Christ, are a lot of your friends still alive, or what's going on with
It's kind of like a 60-40 deal.
Okay.
Well, 70-30, 70% dead, 30% still alive. And the ones who passed away, they passed due to some unforeseen circumstances.
Okay.
And the 30% that are alive, either they're in jail or they're in hiding or they're trying to just get away from it.
Okay. Now, I do want to get into the big thing that we all have been waiting for. Now, you have given your life to Christ. The devil couldn't take you out in the gang. So now, fast forward, you have an experience in a hospital.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So I was at work and I had a stroke. I had a full stroke, paralyzed on the right side of my body. My lip was drooped down, eye was like this, my arm was locked, couldn't walk, no balance, all of that stuff at work. I stayed in the hospital for a while. I had to go through rehab to learn how to walk again because I didn't trust the right side of my body, all of that stuff. A few weeks later, I had to go back to the hospital because they wanted to find out more information on why I had the stroke, because I didn't have any conditions or anything like that. It was just at random, it just happened while I was at work. And they gave me something called, it was a tilt test, where they lay you flat on a table and for 15 minutes and then they tilt you up at 70-degree angle. And I guess the idea is to see if you passed out.
Okay.
Nothing happened. So they tilted me up and I'm still having the conversation with the doctor, And they said, well, we're gonna challenge your heart with a nitrous pill. And it's what the nitrous pill is supposed to do is slow down your heart rate, increase your blood pressure, something like that.
Okay.
It does something. I probably said it backwards, but that was what it was supposed to do. I took the pill, 3 minutes went by, and I felt like middle of my hand got hot. Then I felt like a fire shoot up my left side. My whole body got hot, and that was it. I remember getting up. I was laying flat, and the doctor was over top of me with the paddles like this. And I looked up at the doctor, and she said, "You're back." And I said, "Where'd I go?" Like, what you talking about? And she said, "You died on the table." And I was like, "No, I didn't." I hear my former youth pastor on the outside of the door actually going nuts. Like, I hear him screaming and yelling. And the nurse came over and she said, "No, Mr. Smith, here's your EKG."
They had proof to show you.
There's proof. You actually died on the table. And she said, if you didn't look at me when you did, I would have hit you and you would have died again.
Oh.
Because so yeah, that whole situation put me in a position in my mind where, all right, the devil tried it.
He did.
He tried it.
He tried it.
It didn't work.
He did.
And one thing I believe in is anything you overcome, you gain power over.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That's one of the things I pray about consistently. God, I want to raise the dead. I want to see that. Because if you allowed me to experience it, then that means you're going to give me power over this, correct? And if there's a greater work that I'm supposed to be doing,
absolutely.
Let me see that.
And that's why you're here. There is a greater work you should be doing. There is a greater work. And so now that we've come full circle, you've given your life to Christ, you've been excommunicated, you have this protection. I want to go back to Dad.
Yeah.
What's going on with Dad? Tell me quickly about Dad.
In 2015, when I was installed as a senior pastor of a church, I was heading to the convocation to do the installation. And the convocation was 6 hours away and I was driving. 3 hours in, I heard the Lord tell me, if you don't fix this with your dad, I'll shut this whole thing down. So I called my dad. Hadn't talked to him in a long time. Called him and said, listen, I'm getting ordained as a pastor, being installed this weekend. And when I get back, I want to show you my certification. I want to show you my license. Didn't bring up the past, didn't care about none of that. I was like, this is what I want to show you. And for the first time in my life, I heard him say, I'm proud of you. And I broke down crying, pulled the car over, the whole caravan pulled over, people thinking something's wrong with the car. And they found out why I was crying, and like we're all on the side of the freeway, all weeping and crying. And I mean, it was just one of those moments that really shifted everything for me. And at that moment in 2015, my dad became my best friend.
Wow.
So when I traveled somewhere to preach, as long as I wasn't in a plane, because he ain't do planes. If I was driving, he was right there with me, and we just go everywhere. And in 2019, he passed from stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
But you were able to get that relationship back together. Yeah. You were able to reconcile and connect with your dad on a level now that you all are traveling together. Yeah. That is the power of love, the power of God at working at its best. Yeah. So, and I don't want to rush you, but tell us what you're doing. What's some of the things that you're working on right now?
Well, right now I am editing and revising my book, which is my autobiography, Destined to Break the Curse. I released it prior, and I decided to take it down and redo it. Because I want to add some information. I want to be more attentive to more detail so that I can help people understand you can get free from different things. Like the devil doesn't have to have his hands gripped around your neck. You can be free from it. And we have the mentorship group, which is on our website. Roar Ministries is still active and running. So all of those pastors who I cover, I'm grateful to all of them. I don't know which camera I can look in. Love y'all. But we have Roar Ministries, so I'm covering and ministering to different pastors and making sure that these guys and girls are okay. Pouring into them, because every now and then the leader needs to be poured into. The leader pours and pours and pours. And we wonder why most pastors and most leaders get burned out. It's because no one's pouring into them.
Well, Pastor Smith, you have poured into us on today, and we've just enjoyed your incredible, powerful story. If you would like to stay connected and get more information on Pastor Smith and Roar Ministries, you can check him out on his website at riseofaremnant.org. Again, Pastor Smith, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for watching This is the Day TV Ministries, where we walk by faith and not by sight. Thank you for watching and joining us today. As always, your prayers are very appreciated. But if you would like to support this ministry, you can visit us at GoFundMe, then search This is the Day TV Ministries. Your contributions will be greatly appreciated. We would like to also thank Grace Point Media for the production of today's show in their studio. For your video production needs, you can visit them at their website, gracepoint.media. Well, that would do it for us at This is the Day TV Ministries, where we walk by faith and not by sight.